The medical station Nexus Prime floated in the dark space between two star systems. It was a huge metal structure with white lights that blinked along its sides. Ships came and went from the station every day, bringing sick people and injured. Workers from all over the galaxy. Dr. Vex Thara walked through the main medical bay with quick steps. She was tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue crystal. Her forearms moved as she checked the computer screens that showed information about patients. This Eltharian doctor had worked at Nexus Prime for 10 years, and she knew how to fix almost any injury that came through the doors. Dr. Vex Thara, we have 3 new patients coming in, said Nurse Kilana, a short alien with green skin and 6 eyes. She held a datapad in her small hands. What kind of injuries? Dr. Vex Thara asked, not looking up from her work. 2 Altarians with broken bones from a mining accident, and 1 Corvian with radiation sickness. Kilana replied. Dr. Vex Thara nodded. These were normal injuries for the medical station. Most aliens in the galaxy were quite fragile compared to the standards of their homeworlds. A broken bone could kill some species if not treated quickly. Radiation sickness was always serious, but they had good medicine for it. In another part of the medical bay, Dr. Kamoth was preparing for surgery. He was a Malarian, which meant he looked like a giant slug with arms. His skin was wet and gray, and he moved slowly, but with great care. Dr. Kamoth was the best surgeon on the station, even though he looked strange to many other aliens. The surgery room is ready, Dr. Kamoth said to his assistant. His voice was deep and bubbled like water. Bring in the Altarian with the crushed ribs. The medical station was always busy, but today felt different. There was more activity than usual. Ships were coming and going faster than normal, and the cargo bays were full of workers moving supplies not far from the medical bay. In the cargo section of the station, Jake Morrison was having a normal day at work. He was a human, though most of the aliens on the station had never seen one of his kind before. Humans were new to the galaxy, and there were not many of them working on stations like Nexus Prime. Jake was 28 years old, with brown hair and blue eyes. He was not very tall compared to some aliens, but he was strong and could lift heavy boxes without much trouble. He worked for the Terran Freight Guild, moving cargo between ships and storage areas. Hey, Jake, we need to move those supply crates to Bay 7, called out Zek, his supervisor. Zek was a Thraxian with purple skin and tentacles instead of arms. He was friendly enough, but he always worried about getting work done on time. Sure thing, boss, Jake replied, wiping sweat from his face. The cargo bay was hot and noisy, with machines beeping and workers shouting instructions to each other. Jake climbed into the loading mech, a big machine that could lift heavy objects. The mech looked like a metal suit with long arms and powerful claws. Jake had been using these machines for 2 years, and he was very good at controlling them. The supply crates were huge metal boxes, filled with medical supplies for the station. Each crate weighed as much as a small ship, but the loading mech could pick them up easily. Jake grabbed the first crate and began moving it toward the transport tube that would take it to Bay 7. Be careful with those, Zek called out. They have expensive medicine inside. Jake nodded and continued his work. He had moved hundreds of crates like these before. It was not exciting work, but it paid well, and he liked working in space. Earth was nice, but there was something special about being among the stars. As Jake moved the third crate, he noticed something wrong. The docking clamp that held the crate to the transport system was making a strange noise. It sounded like metal, bending under too much weight. Zek, I think there's a problem with clamp number 4, Jake said into his radio. What kind of problem? Zek's voice came back through the speaker. It's making weird noises. Sounds like it might break. Before Zek could answer, the clamp snapped. The metal piece that held the crate broke in half, with a loud crack. The crate, which weighed several tons, fell toward the floor of the cargo. Jake tried to move the loading mech out of the way, but he was too close. The falling crate hit the side of his machine and sent him flying across the cargo bay. The mech crashed into the wall, and Jake felt pain shoot through his whole body. That was not the worst part. When the crate hit the wall, it damaged the hull of the station. The metal wall that separated the cargo bay from space began to crack. Hull breach in cargo bay 12. Someone shouted over the station's communication system. Jake tried to get out of the loading mech, but his left arm was hurt badly. He could see blood on his clothes, and his head felt dizzy. The lights in the cargo bay were flashing red, which meant danger. Then he heard the sound that every space worker feared most. It was the sound of air being sucked out into space. The crack in the hull was getting bigger, and the air in the cargo bay was rushing out through the opening. Jake felt himself being pulled toward the crack. He grabbed onto a metal bar with his good arm, but the force was too strong. Other workers in the bay were running for the emergency doors, but Jake was too close to the hull breach. The crack in the wall grew bigger with a terrible ripping sound. Jake lost his grip on the metal bar and was sucked toward the opening. He tried to grab onto something else, but everything was happening too fast. In seconds, Jake was pulled through the crack in the hull and out into space. The cold hit him like a wall of ice, and he could not breathe. Space was completely silent, unlike the noisy cargo bay. Jake could see the station getting smaller as he floated away from it. He tried to stay calm, but his body was already starting to hurt from the cold and lack of air. His lungs felt like they were going to burst. Jake had heard stories about people who were sucked into space. Most of them died very quickly. Back on the station, emergency teams were already working. They sealed the hull breach and began looking for Jake with their sensors. Zek was shouting orders, and other workers were running around trying to help. "There he is," called out Ben Parker, another human worker. He was looking at a screen that showed Jake floating in space about 50 meters from the station. "Get the rescue pod ready now," Zek ordered. The rescue team worked as fast as they could, but Jake had already been in space for 30 seconds. For most alien species, that would be far too long. But Jake was human, and humans were different from other aliens in ways that no one on the station understood yet. When the rescue pod finally reached Jake, he was not moving. His skin was blue from the cold, and his eyes were closed. The rescue team pulled him inside the pod and rushed him to the medical bay. "We need Dr. Vex Thara right now," the rescue team leader shouted as they brought Jake into the medical bay. Doctor Vex Thara looked at Jake's still body and shook her head. She had never seen a human before, but she knew that no living thing could survive what had just happened to him. "Put him on the table," she said quietly. "But I do not think there is anything we can do." Dr. Vex Thara stared at Jake's body on the medical table. His skin was blue and cold, and she could not detect any signs of life. The machines around the table were beeping, but all the sounds meant the same thing. The human was dead. "Dr. Kamath, come look at this," she called to her colleague. "Have you ever seen a human before?" Dr. Kamath moved his heavy body over to the table. His wet skin left a trail on the floor as he walked. "No, I have not, but I have read about them in the medical files. They come from a planet called Earth." "What do the files say about them?" Dr. Vex Thara asked, running her scanner over Jake's body. "Earth is listed as a death world," Dr. Kamath said, reading from his datapad. "The gravity is very high, and the atmosphere has poison gas that most species cannot breathe. The weather is extreme, and dangerous animals live there." Dr. Vex Thara nodded. She had heard of death worlds before, but she had never treated someone from one. Most beings from Deathworlds were stronger than normal aliens, but that did not mean they could survive being sucked into space. His body temperature is far too low, she said, looking at the readings. His blood has no oxygen in it. His heart stopped beating at least 5 minutes ago. Nurse Kalana was preparing the body for storage. On most stations, they would call this human's family and arrange to send his body home. There was no point in trying to save someone who's already dead. But Dr. Kamoth noticed something strange. "Wait," he said, pointing one of his tentacle arms at the scanner. "Look at his brain activity." Dr. Vexthara looked at the screen. There was still some activity in Jake's brain, but it was very slow and weak. "That is odd. Most species have no brain activity after being dead for this long. Maybe we should try to bring him back," Dr. Kamoth suggested. "I know it seems impossible, but something is different about this human." Dr. Vexthara thought about it. She had never successfully brought back someone who had been dead for more than 2 minutes. But Dr. Kamoth was right. There was something unusual about Jake's readings. "Kilana, prepare the revival equipment," she ordered. "We are going to try to save him." Nurse Kilana looked surprised. "Doctor, he has been dead for over 5 minutes. The brain damage will be too severe. Just do it," Dr. Vexthara said. "I want to see what happens." The revival equipment was a complex machine that could restart a heart and force air into lungs. Dr. Vexthara placed the metal patches on Jake's chest and set the machine to give him electric shocks. "Starting revival procedure," she announced. Machine sent electricity through Jake's body. His chest jumped up from the table, but his heart did not start beating. Dr. Vexthara tried again, using more power this time. "Still nothing," Dr. Kamoth said, watching the monitors. They continued trying for 20 minutes. Most doctors would have given up after 5 minutes, but something made Dr. Vexthara keep trying. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was the way Jake's brain still showed small signs of life. "One more time," she said, charging the machine to full power. The electricity shot through Jake's body with more force than before. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the heart monitor began to beep. "I am getting a heartbeat," Nurse Kalana said, her 6 eyes wide with surprise. Dr. Vexthara could not believe what she was seeing. The human's heart was beating again, slowly but steadily. His blood pressure was rising, and oxygen was starting to flow through his body. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No one comes back after being dead for 25 minutes. Dr. Kamoth was watching the brain scanner. His brain activity is increasing. It looks like he is starting to wake up. Over the next hour, Jake's condition continued to improve. His body temperature began to rise, and his breathing became stronger. The blue color left his skin, and he began to look more like a living person. Dr. Vexthara ran every test she could think of. According to her scanners, Jake should have massive brain damage from being without oxygen for so long. His organs should be failing, and his blood should be full of toxins from the cold of space. But the tests showed something different. Jake's brain was working normally. His organs were functioning well, and his blood was clean. It was like his body had somehow protected itself during the time he was dead. "Dr. Vexthara," Nurse Kilana called out. "The human is opening his eyes." Jake's eyes fluttered open, and he looked around the medical bay with confusion. He tried to sit up, but Dr. Vexthara gently pushed him back down. "Do not move too quickly," she said. "You have been through a serious accident." Jake looked at the tall, crystal-skinned doctor and blinked. "Where am I?" he asked. His voice was weak but clear. "You are in the medical bay of Nexus Prime, Doctor." Vexthara explained. "You were sucked into space during a cargo accident." "Do you remember what happened?" Jake thought for a moment. "Yeah, the clamp broke and the crate fell. Then the hull cracked and ... quotes He paused, touching his chest. I remember being cold. Very cold. You were in space for almost 40 seconds. Dr. Kamoff said, you were dead for 25 minutes. Jake looked at the slug-like doctor with surprise. Dead? I don't feel dead. I feel okay, just tired and cold. Dr. Vexthara could not hide her amazement. You should not be alive. What you survived would kill any other species I know. Really? Jake asked, sitting up slowly. I mean, I know space is dangerous, but I thought people sometimes survived accidents like this. Not for 40 seconds, Dr. Vexthara said. Most. Aliens would die after 10 seconds in space, and no one comes back after being dead for 25 minutes. Jake shrugged. Well, I guess I'm lucky. Lucky was not the word Dr. Vexthara would have used. What she had witnessed was beyond luck. It was beyond anything she had ever seen in medicine. How do you feel now? She asked, running her scanner over him again. Cold, Jake said, and hungry. Is it always this cold in here? Dr. Vexthara checked the temperature. The medical bay was set to the standard temperature that was comfortable for most species. It is 72 degrees. That's pretty cold, Jake said. Could you turn up the heat a little? Dr. Kamoff looked at his colleague. They both knew that 72 degrees was not cold. In fact, it was warmer than most species preferred. But Jake was acting like it was freezing. I will see what I can do, Dr. Vexthara said. But first, I need to run more tests. What you survived is very unusual. Okay, Jake said. But after that, could I get some food? I'm starving. Dr. Vexthara made notes on her datapad. A normal patient who had been through what Jake experienced would be in a coma for weeks, if they survived at all. But Jake was asking for food and complaining about the temperature. I need to contact the medical council about this, she told Dr. Kamoff quietly. They need to know what happened here. Dr. Kamoff agreed. I have never seen anything like this. This human is different from any species I have ever treated. As they talked, Jake was looking around the medical bay with interest. He seemed completely unaware of how amazing his recovery was. To him, it was just another day at work that had gone wrong. So when can I go back to work? He asked. Dr. Vexthara almost dropped her datapad. You want to go back to work? You just came back from the dead, Jake laughed. I wasn't really dead, was I? I mean, I'm here talking to you. Besides, Zek is probably worried about getting those crates moved. Dr. Vexthara realized that she was dealing with something completely new. This human did not understand how impossible his survival was, and that made him even more fascinating to study. Dr. Vexthara could not sleep that night. She kept thinking about Jake and what had happened in the medical bay. She had sent a message to the Galactic Medical Council, but she was not sure they would believe her report. The next morning, she arrived at the medical bay early to check on Jake. She expected to find him weak and confused, like any normal patient would be after such trauma. Instead, she found him sitting up in bed, talking to Nurse Kilana. Good morning, Doctor, Jake said with a smile. I was just telling Kilana about my home planet. Did you know that Earth has huge storms that can destroy whole cities? Dr. Vexthara looked at Nurse Kilana, who seemed shocked by what Jake was telling her. He has been talking about his planet all morning, Kilana whispered. The things he describes sound terrible. What kind of storms? Dr. Vexthara asked, pulling up a chair next to Jake's bed. Oh, all kinds, Jake said. Hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and earthquakes too. The ground just shakes and buildings fall down. It's pretty scary when you're in one. Dr. Vexthara made notes on her datapad. And people live through these storms? Most of the time, yeah, Jake said. I was in a tornado when I was a kid. It picked up our house and threw it about 100 yards. I broke my arm and got a big cut on my head, but I was okay. You broke your arm? Dr. Vexthara asked. For most alien species, a broken bone was a serious injury that could take months to heal. Yeah, it hurt pretty bad, Jake said, rolling up his sleeve to show her his arm. You can still see the scar where they put the metal pin in. Dr. Vexthara examined Jake's arm with her scanner. The bone was completely healed, and it was stronger than it had been before the break. How long did it take to heal? About 6 weeks, Jake said. The doctor said I healed faster than most people. 6 weeks was impossible. Dr. Vexthara knew that Zeltharian bones took at least 4 months to heal from a break. And that was with the best medical care available. Jake, I need to ask you some questions about humans, she said. Are all humans as strong as you? Jake laughed. Strong? I'm not that strong. There are lots of people stronger than me. My friend, Pete can lift twice as much as I can. But you lifted those heavy crates yesterday, Dr. Vexthara pointed out. Each one weighed over 1,000 pounds. Yeah, but I was using the loading mech, Jake said. Without the mech, I can only lift about 300 pounds. Dr. Vexthara's eyes went wide. 300 pounds was more than most alien species could lift with mechanical help. You can lift 300 pounds without machines? Well, not for very long, Jake said. Maybe for a few seconds. Is that unusual? Before Dr. Vexthara could answer, the medical bay doors opened. A tall, thin alien with silver skin and large black eyes walked in. Dr. Vexthara recognized him immediately. It was Dr. Nimtar, the famous xenobiologist from the Medical Council. Dr. Vexthara, Dr. Nimtar said in a voice that sounded like music. I received your report about the human. I had to come see for myself. Dr. Nimtar, this is Jake Morrison, Dr. Vexthara said. Jake, this is Dr. Nimtar. He studies different alien species. Jake sat up straighter in his bed. Nice to meet you, Doctor. Are you here to check on me too? Dr. Nimtar walked slowly around Jake's bed, studying him like he was a puzzle to solve. Tell me, Jake, what do you know about your planet's classification? Classification? Jake asked. I don't know what you mean. Earth is listed as a Class 9 death world, Dr. Nimtar explained. It is one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. The gravity is 3 times stronger than most habitable worlds, and the atmosphere contains gases that are poisonous to most species. Jake looked confused. But it's just a regular planet. I mean, sure, it can be dangerous sometimes, but people live there just fine. Dr. Nimtar pulled out a small device and pointed it at Jake. May I scan you? I want to understand how your body works. Sure, Jake said. Whatever helps. The scanner hummed as it passed over Jake's body. Dr. Nimtar watched the readings with growing amazement. Fascinating, he whispered. Your bone density is remarkable. Your muscle fibers are unlike anything I have seen. Is that good or bad? Jake asked. It explains how you survived yesterday, Dr. Nimtar said. Your body has adaptations that allow it to survive in extreme conditions. Double quotes. Dr. Vexthara leaned forward. What kind of adaptations? Dr. Nimtar showed them the scanner readings. Look at his cardiovascular system. His heart is much stronger than a normal alien heart. His blood can carry more oxygen, and his brain can function on very little oxygen for extended periods. So, that's why he survived in space? Dr. Vexthara asked. Partly, Dr. Nimtar said, but there is more. His cellular structure is designed to resist damage from pressure changes and extreme temperatures. When he was in space, his body went into a kind of survival mode. Jake was listening to all this with interest. You mean my body has special features I don't know about? Yes, Dr. Nimtar said. All humans have these features. They are the result of evolution on a very dangerous planet. Huh, Jake said. I never thought about it that way. Dr. Nine-Tar continued his examination. Tell me about other injuries you have had. Jake thought for a moment. Well, I fell off a cliff when I was hiking once. Broke 2 ribs and got a concussion. And I've had the flu a few times. Oh, and I got food poisoning last year that made me really sick. How long were you sick with the flu? Dr. Vexthara asked. About a week each time, Jake said. It was pretty miserable. Dr. Nine-Tar and Dr. Vexthara exchanged glances. They both knew that the flu-like viruses from Earth would kill most alien species in hours. Jake, the diseases from your planet would be deadly to most aliens, Dr. Nine-Tar explained. Your immune system is incredibly aggressive. Really? Jake asked. I always thought I got sick pretty easily. No, Dr. Nine-Tar said. You have one of the strongest immune systems in the galaxy. It has to be strong to survive on Earth. Dr. Vexthara was taking notes as fast as she could. What about the broken ribs? How long did those take to heal? About a month, Jake said. The doctor said I was lucky they didn't puncture my lung. A month, Dr. Vexthara repeated. Most species would die from broken ribs because they would puncture internal organs. But they didn't puncture anything, Jake said. They just hurt a lot. Dr. Nine-Tar ran more scans. Your rib cage is designed to protect your organs even when broken. And your organs are positioned in a way that makes them harder to damage. Jake, do all humans heal as fast as you do? Dr. Vexthara asked. I think so, Jake said. Maybe some heal faster, some slower. My little sister heals really fast. She's always getting scraped up playing sports, but she's fine the next day. Dr. Nine-Tar looked at Dr. Vexthara. We need to document all of this. The medical council needs to understand what we're dealing with. What exactly are we dealing with? Dr. Vexthara asked. Dr. Nine-Tar was quiet for a moment. We are dealing with a species that has evolved to survive things that would kill almost any other intelligent life form. Humans are not just tough. They are practically indestructible by galactic standards. Jake laughed. Indestructible? I don't think so. People get hurt and die on Earth all the time. But what kills humans would have killed other species long before they became intelligent, Dr. Nine-Tar said. Your people survived and thrived on a planet that should have been uninhabitable. I guess we're stubborn, Jake said with a grin. Dr. Vexthara realized that Jake still did not understand how amazing he was. To him, surviving deadly injuries and diseases was just normal life. But to the rest of the galaxy, humans were living miracles. Jake, I need to ask you to stay here for a few more days, Dr. Nine-Tar said. I want to study you more, if you don't mind. Sure, Jake said. But I should probably call my boss and tell him I'll be late getting back to work. Dr. Vexthara shook her head. Jake was worried about being late for work after coming back from the dead. She was beginning to understand that humans were not just physically different from other species, they were mentally different too. They did not fear death the way other species did, because they had been living with the possibility of death every day of their lives. It had made them strong in ways that the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Word about Jake's impossible recovery spread quickly through Nexus Prime. Within 2 days, alien doctors from all over the station were coming to see the human who had come back from the dead. Jake did not mind the attention, but he was getting tired of answering the same questions over and over. So you really lifted 300 pounds without machines? Asked Dr. Felthan, a bird-like alien from the surgical unit. Yeah, but only for a few seconds, Jake said for the 10th time that day. It's not that impressive. Lots of humans can lift more than that. Double quotes. Dr. Felthan made notes on his datapad. His species could barely lift 50 pounds, and that was with Great effort. And you say human children can survive falls that would kill adults of other species? Well, kids are pretty tough, Jake said. They bounce back from stuff that would hurt adults more. Dr. Vexthara was listening from across the room. She had been documenting everything Jake said, and each new piece of information made humans seem more incredible. Jake, tell Dr. Felthin about your nephew, she suggested. Jake smiled. Oh yeah, my nephew Danny is 7 years old. Last month he fell out of a tree and broke his wrist. He cried for about 5 minutes, then wanted to go back and climb the tree again. Dr. Felthin's feathers ruffled with shock. A 7-year-old broke his wrist and wanted to continue dangerous activity? Kids are like that, Jake said. They don't stay scared of things for long. Dr. Nantar had been studying Jake for 3 days now, and he was starting to understand something important. Humans were not just physically tough, they were mentally tough too. They recovered from trauma, both physical and emotional, in ways that other species could not. Jake, I want to bring some other humans to the medical bay, Dr. Naimtar said. I need to see if you are typical of your species. Sure, Jake said. There are a few other humans working on the station. Ben Parker works in cargo with me, and Lisa Carter is an engineer. An hour later, Ben Parker and Lisa Carter were sitting in the medical bay, looking confused about why they had been called in. Are we in trouble? Ben asked. He was a big man with red hair and freckles. I know the accident in the cargo bay was bad, but it wasn't anyone's fault. You are not in trouble, Dr. Vexthara said. We want to learn more about humans. Can you? Tell us about injuries you have had. Ben looked at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. Well, I broke my leg in 2 places when I was in the military, and I got shot once during a war on Earth. Dr. Naimtar nearly dropped his scanner. You were shot. With a weapon and survived? Yeah, it went through my shoulder, Ben said, pulling down his shirt to show a scar. Hurt like hell, but I was back on duty in 2 months. 2 months? Dr. Vexthara asked. A projectile weapon wound would kill most species instantly. Well, it missed the important stuff, Ben said. I was lucky. Lisa Carter spoke up. I was. In a car accident when I was 16. The car rolled over 3 times and caught fire. I had to crawl out with a broken collarbone and burns on my arms. Dr. Naimtar scanned Lisa's arms and found the old burn scars. How extensive were the burns? 2nd-degree burns over about 20% of my body, Lisa said. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, Dr. Felthin whispered. Burns like that would kill most aliens in hours. Really? Lisa asked. I mean, they hurt a lot, but they weren't that bad. Dr. Vexthara was beginning to see a pattern. All the humans talked about serious injuries, like they were minor inconveniences. What they considered not that bad would be fatal to most other species. Ben, what was the worst injury you ever saw another human survive? Dr. Naimtar asked. Ben thought for a moment. There was this guy in my unit who stepped on a landmine, lost his left leg below the knee, and had shrapnel in his chest. But he lived, and now he runs marathons with an artificial leg. He runs marathons? Dr. Vexthara asked. Yeah, he's actually faster now than he was before, Ben said. The artificial leg doesn't get tired like a real one. Dr. Naimtar was taking notes as fast as he could. And this is normal for humans? To continue athletic activities after losing. LIMBs? Some people do, Lisa said. There are whole sports leagues for people with artificial limbs. They're pretty amazing to watch. What about diseases? Dr. Vexthara asked. What diseases have you survived? Lisa laughed. Where do I start? I had chicken pox as a kid, then pneumonia when I was in college. I've had food poisoning a few times, and I caught some kind of flu last year that made me sick for 2 weeks. Dr. Naim-Tar ran his scanner over Lisa and found antibodies for dozens of diseases that would be fatal to most alien species. Your immune system has fought off viruses that we would classify as biological weapons. Really? Lisa asked. They just felt like normal sickness to me. Jake, tell them about your sister. Dr. Vexthara said. Jake grinned. My sister Kelly is a firefighter. She runs into burning buildings to save people. Last year she fell through a floor and broke 3 ribs, but she kept working until the fire was out. She continued working with broken ribs? Dr. Felthin asked. She had to, Jake said. There were still people trapped in the building. Dr. Naim-Tar was starting to understand something that amazed and frightened him. Humans did not just survive. Impossible injuries. They continued to function while injured in ways that would disable other species. Ben, have you ever continued working while injured? Dr. Naim-Tar asked. Sure, Ben said. In the military, you learn to keep going even when you're hurt. I once marched 20 miles with a sprained ankle. 20 miles? Dr. Vexthara asked. It wasn't fun, Ben said. But we had to get to our destination. Dr. Naim-Tar looked at his colleagues. They were all thinking the same thing. Humans were not just tough, they were relentless. They kept going when other species would give up. Lisa, what is the most dangerous thing you do for fun? Dr. Naim-Tar asked. Lisa thought for a moment. I like rock climbing and skydiving. Oh, and I race motorcycles sometimes. Dr. Felthin's feathers stood up in alarm. You jump out of flying vehicles for entertainment? Skydiving is really peaceful, Lisa said. You're falling through the sky, and everything is quiet except for the wind. It's beautiful. And if your parachute fails? Dr. Vexthara asked. Well, that would be bad, Lisa admitted. But the backup parachute almost always works. And even if both fail, some people have survived the fall. People have survived falling from the sky? Dr. Naim-Tar asked. It's rare. But it happens, Ben said. There was a woman who fell 20,000 feet and lived. She was hurt pretty bad, but she recovered. Dr. Vexthara was quiet for a long moment. She was starting to realize that humans did not just survive accidents. They actively sought out dangerous activities for fun. Why do you do these dangerous things? She asked. Jake shrugged. They're exciting. Life gets boring if you don't take some risks. But you could die, Dr. Felthin pointed out. You could die crossing the street, Lisa said. You could die eating the wrong food. Everything has some risk. Dr. Naim-Tar was beginning to understand the human mindset. They lived with constant danger on their homeworld, so they had learned to accept risk as a normal part of life. What other species would consider terrifying, humans saw as just another day. Tell me about Earth's predators, Dr. Naim-Tar said. What animals are dangerous to humans? Oh, lots of them, Ben said. Bears, sharks, snakes, spiders, and that's just the big stuff. There are tiny insects that can kill you with one bite. And humans live alongside these creatures? Dr. Vexthara asked. We have to, Jake said. They were there first. Most of the time they leave us alone if we leave them alone. What do you do if you encounter a dangerous predator? Dr. Naim-Tar asked. Depends on the predator, Lisa said. If it's a bear, you try to make yourself look big and back away slowly. If it's a snake, you just walk around it. Sharks usually don't bother people unless they're confused. Dr. Felthin was horrified. You have protocols for encountering deadly predators? Every human child learns them, Ben said. It's basic safety stuff. Dr. Vexthara realized that human children were taught to deal with creatures that would terrify adult aliens. It explained why humans seemed so fearless. They had been facing death since childhood. What do human children play with? Dr. Naim-Tar asked. Jake laughed. All kinds of stuff. They climb trees, swim in lakes, ride bicycles. They play sports, where they run into each other on purpose. They deliberately collide for entertainment, Dr. Felthin asked. Football, hockey, rugby, Lisa said. Kids love those sports. They get knocked down and get right back up. And parents allow this? Dr. Vexthara asked. Sure, Ben said. It teaches kids to be tough. My dad always said that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Dr. Naim Tar made a note about that saying. It seemed to sum up the human philosophy perfectly. Jake, I need to ask you something important, Dr. Naim Tar said. Do humans know how unusual they are compared to other species? Jake looked at his friends. I don't think so. I mean, we know we're from a tough planet, but we didn't know other species were so fragile. We're not fragile, Dr. Vexthara said quickly. Humans are just incredibly resilient. Resilient, Ben repeated. I like that word. Dr. Naim Tar stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see human workers moving cargo and repairing equipment. They moved with confidence and strength that other species could not match. I need to report this to the medical council, he said. Humans are unlike any species we have enco. 1 week after the accident, Jake was finally cleared to leave the medical bay. Dr. Vexthara had run every test she could think of, and all of them showed the same thing. Jake was completely healthy. There was no sign that he had ever been injured, let alone dead. I still can't believe you're okay, she said as Jake got dressed in his work clothes. According to everything I know about medicine, you should be dead or severely brain damaged. Jake pulled on his boots and stood up. Well, I feel fine. Better than fine, actually. I feel great. Dr. Naim Tar was watching from across the room. In the past week, he had learned more about human biology than he had thought possible. His report to the Galactic Medical Council was over 200 pages long, and he was still adding to it. Jake, before you go, I want to show you something, Dr. Naim Tar said. He pulled out a data pad and showed Jake a list of numbers. These are your test results compared to other species. Jake looked at the numbers, but they did not mean much to him. What am I looking at? Your bone density is 3 times higher than the average alien, Dr. Naim Tar explained. Your muscle strength is 5 times higher. Your immune system is 10 times more aggressive. Is that why I feel so good? Jake asked. That is why you survived, Dr. Naim Tar said. Your body is designed for survival in ways that most species cannot match. Dr. Vexthara had been thinking about something all week. Jake, I want to ask you about other humans, you know. Are they all like you? What do you mean? Jake asked. Do they all recover from injuries quickly? Do they all seem fearless about dangerous things? Jake thought about his friends and family back on Earth. I guess so. I mean, my mom once broke her hip and was walking again in 3 months. My dad survived a heart attack and went back to work the next week. Dr. Naim Tar made more notes. Your father returned to work 1 week after a heart attack? Yeah, the doctor told him to take it easy, but Dad said he felt fine, Jake said. He lived for 20 more years after that. Dr. Vexthara shook her head. A heart attack would kill most aliens instantly. Even if they survived, they would be invalids for the rest of their lives. Jake, I have been thinking about your species, Dr. Naim Tar said. Humans are not just tough. You are something that should not exist. What do you mean? Jake asked. Most species evolve on stable planets with gentle climates, Dr. Naim Tar explained. They become intelligent because they do not have to spend all their energy just surviving. But humans evolved on a death world, Dr. Vexthara added. You became intelligent while fighting for survival every day. Jake nodded. Earth can be pretty rough. But that's just normal life. That is exactly the point, Dr. Ninetar said. What you call normal would kill most other species. Your people learn to be smart and tough at the same time. So what does that mean? Jake asked. Dr. Vexthara looked at Dr. Ninetar. They had talked about this many times over the past week. It means humans might be the most successful species in the galaxy, she said. Most successful? Jake asked. You can survive almost anything. Dr. Ninetar said. You heal from injuries that would kill others. You adapt to new environments quickly. And you never give up. Jake laughed. We're stubborn, I'll give you that. Stubborn enough to come back from the dead, Dr. Vexthara said. There was a beeping sound from Dr. Ninetar's communication device. He looked at the message and smiled. The Medical Council has reviewed my report. They want to create a new classification for humans. What kind of classification? Jake asked. Class 5 Resilient Species, Dr. Ninetar said. It is a new category. Humans are the first species to qualify for it. Is that good? Jake asked. It means that every medical facility in the galaxy will know how to treat humans properly, Dr. Vexthara said. And it means that other species will understand what they are dealing with when they meet humans. Jake looked confused. What are they dealing with? Dr. Ninetar and Dr. Vexthara exchanged glances. Jake still did not understand how special his species was. They are dealing with a species that redefines what it means to be alive, Dr. Ninetar said. Just then, the medical bay doors opened. Zek, Jake's supervisor, came in with Ben Parker and Lisa Carter. Jake, you ready to get back to work? Zek asked. His purple tentacles waved with excitement. We've got a big shipment coming in, and we need all hands. Absolutely, Jake said, grabbing his work jacket. I've been sitting around here long enough. Doctor. Vexthara watched as Jake said goodbye to his friends and headed for the door. He was acting like nothing had happened, like coming back from the dead was just another day at the office. Jake, wait, she called out. He turned around. Yeah, Doc? Be careful out there, she said. Jake grinned. Always am, Doc. See you around. After Jake and the other humans left, Dr. Vexthara and Dr. Ninetar sat in silence for a few minutes. Do you think he understands what happened to him? Dr. Vexthara asked. I think he understands that he survived something dangerous, Dr. Ninetar sighed. But I do not think he understands how impossible it was. Maybe that's for the best, Dr. Vexthara said. If humans knew how amazing they were, they might become arrogant. Dr. Ninetar nodded. Their humility is part of what makes them remarkable. They do incredible things without thinking they are incredible. Over the next few days, news of Jake's recovery spread throughout the galaxy. Medical stations began updating their procedures for treating humans. Universities started offering courses on Deathworld biology, and governments began to take notice of the new species that had joined the galactic community. Dr. Vexthara received messages from doctors all over the galaxy asking about humans. Some wanted to study them. Others wanted to learn from their medical techniques. A few were frightened by what humans represented. Dr. Vexthara, I have been thinking, Dr. Ninetar said one afternoon. Humans are going to change everything. What do you mean? She asked. They are going to make other species question their own limitations, Dr. Ninetar said. If humans can survive the impossible, what else is possible? Dr. Vexthara understood what he meant. Jake's recovery was not just a medical miracle. It was proof that life was stronger and more adaptable than anyone had thought. A few weeks later, Jake was back to his normal routine, moving cargo and joking with his coworkers. He had no idea that his name was now known in medical schools across the galaxy, or that his case had started a revolution in how doctors thought about trauma and recovery. One day, while Jake was loading supplies onto a transport ship, Zek approached, him with a worried expression. "Jake, I got a message from the station administrator," Zek said. "She wants to give you some kind of award for surviving the accident." Jake looked up from his work. "An award? For what?" "For demonstrating exceptional resilience in the face of life-threatening injury." Zek read from his data pad. Jake laughed. "That's just a fancy way of saying I didn't die, right?" "I guess so," Zek said. "But they want to have a ceremony and everything. Can I skip it?" Jake asked. "I've got work to do." Zek's tentacles drooped with amusement. Only a human would want to skip an award ceremony to go back to work. Jake shrugged and went back to loading cargo. He did not know that across the galaxy, doctors were studying his case and learning new ways to save lives. He did not know that his recovery had given hope to families whose loved ones had suffered terrible injuries. All Jake knew was that he had a job to do, and he was glad to be alive to do it. In her office, Dr. Vexthara was writing the final entry in Jake's medical file. She wrote, "Patient Jake Morrison represents a new understanding of what it means to survive. His recovery demonstrates that life is more resilient than we ever imagined. Recommendation: never underestimate the will to live, especially in a human." She closed the file and looked out the window at the cargo bay where Jake was working. He was laughing with his coworkers and moving heavy crates like they weighed nothing. Dr. Vexthara smiled. The galaxy had just learned that death was not always final, that the impossible was sometimes possible, and that sometimes the greatest miracles came in the form of ordinary people who refused to give up. And it all started with a cargo worker who came back from the dead and asked for something to eat.